Hi everybody, I'm Nush and this is NextGen MFG, the podcast where I highlight individuals in careers and classes outside of the norm. I'm going to use trades as an umbrella term from different occupations and industries. Welcome to the pilot episode of this podcast. So I'll be explaining what this whole podcast is about in this episode, as well as my story and how LinkedIn has helped me elevate myself in the industry. So, to introduce myself, my name is Nush again, and I'm currently based out of North Carolina, but I'm originally from Cambridge, Massachusetts. So, my story starts off in sophomore year of high school. I almost failed out of computer science, and I decided, let me not ruin my transcript, and let me just take auto tech because eventually I'm gonna need to learn how to drive, so it just works out. So I started taking auto tech and driver's ed, and I really kind of got connected with the instructors, and I really liked them. They gave me a lot of confidence, and they were like, oh, you know what you're doing. You could probably do this for a career. And hearing that made me feel really secure. So I was like, you know what, let me just apply to some of these tech schools. One of them being NASCAR Tech, because I really wanted the name NASCAR in my resume. I really wanted to do something with performance, and I had a feeling that if I had the name NASCAR in my resume rather than other tech schools, I might have had a better shot. In order to convince my parents to go to NASCAR Tech, I got to do a lot. I tried my best to put myself out there and get scholarships so that they, it wouldn't have to be paid for, school wouldn't have to be paid for. And one of the main scholarships that I got was one from Tech Force. So that's a really great resource if you're interested in going to tech school. Tech Force has a lot of great scholarships out there, and it's very easy to apply. Right around the time I was graduating high school, I ended up being invited on a podcast, and there was also an article written about me because I was going to NASCAR Tech. So I thought that was really cool at 18 to have an article about me. And the reason I had gotten that article was because of my network. I had met this wonderful mentor from a bike shop in Boston called Madhouse Motors. And she connected me with this journalist and this podcast host. And honestly, it went from there. So I went to NASCAR Tech, and while I was in school, I really needed a job that paid more than $15 an hour. I didn't really want to change people's oil. I wanted to make money. So I found CNC machining, and they paid like $19 an hour. And I was like, yep, sign me up. I'll do it. It was like entry level. They said it would be even better if you did have mechanical aptitude because you'd know how to use like a wrench. But in all honesty, it's something that you can learn on the job. It's not something that's difficult. So I started working a CNC job while I was in school, and honestly, it was a little bit boring because it was so monotonous, but honestly, if I had pushed my employers to teach me more, I think they definitely would have, but instead I just stuck it out for the pay and then ended up departing I departed when my 6-hour classes started. In early 2023, I graduated from NASCAR Tech and I got a job at a valve machine shop. And that's where I started my LinkedIn presence because I started operating the Swiss machines. And I kind of blew up on LinkedIn like how a lot of people blow up on TikTok or Instagram. But it was different because it was a lot of older folks wanting to give me advice and wanting to teach me and highlight me and talk to me and get my opinions. And I was like, what? And it was a lot of them wanting to invite me to trade shows. So I got invited to IMTS, which is the International Manufacturing Technology Show, every 2 years in Chicago, and I got to speak. I got to speak on stage, and that was only from posting what I do on LinkedIn and talking about what I do. Now, a lot of my peers do that stuff on TikTok and Instagram. So imagine if they did that stuff on LinkedIn too, and these people recognize them and realize like, oh, there are actually young people that are interested. A lot of these people in the older generation don't really realize that there are eager people. We're just not really on LinkedIn. So this podcast is to kind of introduce this new generation of thinkers, movers, and doers to the previous generation, and also to kind of teach you guys how to use LinkedIn, how to get on LinkedIn, and also to show some of your content to the LinkedIn community. This is also my way of like introducing you guys to like podcasting and interviews and that kind of stuff to help elevate your careers, because I think what people that I see on Instagram, I think what they do is really cool, and I wish that they could talk about it like how I've got to talk about it, because I just got lucky. I really did just get lucky. So I want to be able to give some of that to other people. And by no way is this like me giving advice or anything, because if I'm being completely honest, I'm figuring it out too. Like, that's what I think separates my podcast from others. I'm also figuring it out. It's not like I'm successful or anything. I'm working towards it. So I feel like it's a little bit more comfortable talking with somebody like that. And also it's like more conversational. Like, I'm not quizzing you. I just want to know about, how you got into this and why you're doing it, even if it's just for the money. Like, why? And why do you enjoy it? Why are you still in it if it's just for the money? What do you have to tell younger kids who are interested in doing something like this? What is your advice, And I also want to give small businesses a chance to promote themselves and what they do, because I think they're also really cool. And I also kind of want to expose parents to successful trades, because, a lot of these jobs are fulfilling. People assume they're not. And I also want to show the younger generation that there are fun jobs and they're worth it. Basically, I'm looking for guests that are doing something out of the norm, whether that be attending trade school or working in the trades. If they're in school for anything STEM related, I would love to talk to them, because that's different. That's cool. And this is no disclaimer. This is no shame to anybody who's gone to college or is going to college. This podcast is just about other career trajectories to take. So why am I doing this? Again, going back to the social media thing, I meet so many amazing people on social media, but what sucks is I'll try to get them connected with some podcast hosts because I want them to say their story, and I think they need to be out there, but for some reason or another, things fall through, whether it be, confidence, or they don't align with the host, or the host doesn't want to hit them back up for some reason, or it's just timing, the timing doesn't work. So whatever the reason is, it sucks that these people aren't getting noticed. I want to give them a chance to be like, hey mom, hey dad, I'm on a podcast. I'm going to be speaking on a podcast about what I do. Because that right there might be the deciding factor if their parents even let them continue in the trades. I know that sounds crazy, but for some first gen people, for some first gen kids, it is like that. My only requirement for my guests is that they have an updated LinkedIn with an introduction post, sort of like how I have my introduction post, and an updated work experience, so that when I do upload the podcast on LinkedIn and do the tags, you guys could do promotional posts, and then people can find you, connect with you, and see all your other stuff through there. So, and LinkedIn is really easy. I don't even use it very professionally. I use it as if Facebook meets X, because I post statuses, I ask for advice, and people generally message me back and comment on my stuff. I've asked for resume advice before. I want to give people a chance to say their story, and other people a chance to hear how passionate these people are. So let's talk. Message me on Instagram, LinkedIn, TikTok, whatever. Give me a little bio on yourself, and we're gonna try to get something scheduled, because I would love to talk. And so I gave you the whole shebang on why I want to do the podcast. Oh, another reason why this podcast is really cool, I think, is I don't care what you are. I will interview anybody. If you're in school still, I don't care. I'll interview you. If you've been working, I'll interview you. If you're 35, I'll still interview you. I don't care. And if you're a kid, like a 12-year-old doing something cool, with your parents' permission, I will interview you. And with the parent present, Or depending on how your parent wants to do it, I will interview you because you're cool. When I say like people doing things out of the norm, that also includes like people who do social media and like post about their cars because I know a lot of people who do that and y'all are cool. I would love to talk to you about that because that's a whole job in itself. And I will also be sharing resources, job opportunities because I'm on like a lot of email lists for like F1 job opportunities. So obviously I'm going to be sharing that. NASCAR job opportunities, NASCAR scholarships, that kind of stuff. I will be sharing all that stuff with you guys. That being said, I just ask one thing, that when you go to listen to this podcast on whatever podcast player you are listening to it on, you give it a 5-star rating and leave a comment, leave a note or something, let me know what you like, what you didn't, what you think I could work on. Give me a recommendation on who I should have next. I would love that. That'd be awesome. Go to my TikTok, follow my LinkedIn. Connect with me on LinkedIn, actually. I want to connect. Oh, thank you so much for watching or listening and supporting. I hope to see y'all in the next episode. Bye.